So recently, I was in a conversation with someone, and I mentioned to this, who's a small business owner. I mentioned to him, that it's pretty amazing that as a business owner, the only limit to your potential or achievement or the size of your business is yourself. And I think as I said and after I said it, there was a little bit of a little alarm bell in my head going, is that really true? And so let's explore why this might or might not be true. So, why this might be true. So, there's a certain sense of unlimited potential in any business in terms of um, there are small businesses and there are large businesses. Why could yours not be a large business? They're just people and you're a person, so why could you not have a huge business? So, from that standpoint, yes, there is the potential for, in theory, for anyone to have any type of success, right, in terms of business. Because business doesn't necessarily depend on having a certain, like, physical attributes. Anyway, now, there are certain things that definitely can help, right? So if you're naturally a great communicator, if you're naturally good with money, if you're naturally good at sales, there's lots of things that can really help you, right? Um, but I think we could all point to anomalies where a person maybe did or did not have one of those attributes, and they were still able to succeed. So there is a sense in which business is a limitless game, that any business, in theory, could be a massive business, or at least any person could, in theory, have a massive business. That would be the better way to say it, because there are some industries that are so small that maybe you could not have a massive business in that industry. But so there is a certain sense of in which that is true. Now, what would be some counterpoints to that would indicate that perhaps you cannot, not anybody can have any size of a business? So first of all, what if God doesn't want you to have that big of a business? Like, can you just, or maybe God has divinely, sovereignly decided you're not going to have a big business? Like, if that's the case, I don't really see you having a big business if God wills it to not happen. Now, does He give us free will? Yes, He does. And so, but is it possible for God to just veto the big business plan? I think it is. Now, you could also have curses on your life that you've never revoked, and those could also prevent you from having a successful business. And then there's also the larger statistical question, which is, if anybody could have a Tesla or a SpaceX or a Microsoft or a Facebook, why are there so few of the giant companies? Like, there's a lot of people on this earth. Very few of them have a billion-dollar company, and even fewer of them have a multi-billion-dollar company. So I remember someone asking Mark Cuban, I think, if he had to start over, if he lost it all or something like that, could he, become as wealthy again? And his answer was kind of interesting. It was along the lines of, well, he would be fine. He could do well, but that in his view, it took a certain amount of luck for him to be as successful as he was. He built, I forget now which company, but he built some type of software, I think, and was able to sell it to Yahoo or somebody, and did very well. And so it is interesting to consider, to what's the impact of luck, if you will. Now, my view is much more God centric, and so I believe that there's more. I believe God is involved in what happens in our lives, and especially when we actively partner with Him. But even those who aren't actively partnering with him, how is God like organizing things around their life to achieve his purposes? I don't know. And I suspect there are people who do not and will not ever have a big business. Not because they don't want one, and maybe even not because they don't put in the work, but because God knows that for them and for their family it would not be the best thing for them to have a big business. But if we were to, I think it is possible. One perspective of business is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's the right one. I don't think this is necessarily this may not be well, actually there is some biblical precedent for this view, potentially. But it's the idea of kind of playing the odds. So rather than having an expectation that this one thing you're going to do, this one action you're going to take, or this one type of business you're going to build is absolutely for sure going to succeed, you try to position yourself for the best likelihood of success. So you take the actions day to day, develop the habits day to day that tend to lead towards success or effectiveness, maybe would be a better way of putting it. So there is a certain degree of either divine intervention, luck, whatever, right, that happens to all of us. There's a certain level of, I'd say it's very rare, and I can maybe challenge me on this, but it's very rare, I think, that a giant business happens purely on the effort of the founder. I think in most cases there probably are some really fortunate events that occur outside the owner's control that helps the business to become what it is. I don't know, even as I was saying that, I'm like, do I really believe that? But anyway, so back to the whole playing the odds. So if you don't have the expectation that you're guaranteed success or guaranteed, any certain outcome, but you do believe that on the whole, if you put in the effort, eventually you'll have some type of good outcome, as long as you don't quit, and as long as you keep doing things that position you for success, right? So it's like putting all the inputs in that you believe will create success, forward motion, effectiveness, and while maybe you're not emotionally tied to the outcome, you put in the work that enables you. It's kind of like, imagine there's a machine that threw darts, okay, and if it hit the dartboard, you would win. You would have success. Whatever. So you're creating the dartboard. Well, you're going to create the dartboard to be as large as possible to catch as many of those darts as possible, right? In other words, you're going to position yourself to where you don't know if you're going to be wildly successful, but you're going to make it as easy. Well, what's an elegant way to say this? Basically, you're gonna stack the odds in your favor, okay? So you're not depending that you're getting lucky right away. It might be in 10 years, it might be in 20 years, but you're gonna stack the odds in favor. And I think to be effective in that, one of the keys is to have some idea of where you want to be in the future so that you can actively stack the odds in the right direction. So if I'm just kind of generally trying to stack odds, but it's very scattered, it's not focused at all, I'm probably not going to be doing a great job. If I have a fairly specific idea of what I want to do, with a bunch of flexibility built in, of course, because many of us don't actually know what the future holds and where we'll actually end up precisely, right? But if we have a certain direction we're aiming for, we can stack the odds in our favor. So if I have a certain industry I want to be in and a certain type of business I want to run, if I learn how other people are running those businesses, if I learn the people in the industry or in surrounding industries who would want to be my clients, there's a number of things I can do to stack the odds in my favor. And if I'm continually learning things about where I want to be at, sure, I may or may not have the success that I envision for that particular endeavor. A lot of our ideas are just pretty bad ideas. Now, a God-inspired idea, I think, is an awesome thing. But you know, there's a scripture that says, you know, cast your bread on many waters, and I think it's the idea that distribute broadly, so broadly, you don't know for sure where you're going to get the result at, but put the inputs in, okay? You don't know what the outputs are going to be yet. Put the inputs in. This comes back to some of this lead measure, lag measure type stuff. Put the inputs in, stack the odds in your favor, and sooner or later, something is going to hit and something is going to work for you. Wow, a 10-minute video. This is a long video for me, guys. So anyway, if you stuck around to the end, congratulations. Hats off. I hope you'll join me next time.